The damaged Vrelnath fleet limped back to their home system 5 days later. News of their defeat had already spread through the military channels. When the ships entered orbit around the Vrelnath homeworld, there were no celebrations, no cheering crowds, only silence and shame. Admiral Vraxton was removed from command the moment his shuttle landed. Military police escorted him from the landing pad to a detention cell. The Vrelnath High Council met an emergency session, arguing for hours about what to do. Some demanded war, others called for peace. But everyone understood one terrible truth. They had started a fight they couldn't win. The political fallout spread like fire. Vraxton's attack on the Horizon's Promise had been secretly ordered by a faction of militant leaders who wanted to show strength. Now their actions had brought disaster. The Vrelnath military, once feared across the region, had been beaten by a single human ship. Colonies that paid tribute to the Dominion began withholding payments. Allies questioned their commitment. Enemies sensed weakness. Within 2 weeks, the Vrelnath government had no choice. They opened secret communication channels with Earth requesting negotiations. Mediator Yun arrived at Vrelnath Prime 3 weeks after the Battle of Corinthian Expanse. She was a senior diplomat from Earth, experienced and professional. But unlike Ambassador G, Yun came with an escort. 3 human warships, smaller versions of the Requiem, maintained position in orbit. The message was clear. Humanity would talk, but they weren't defenseless anymore. The negotiations took place in the council chamber, a massive room built to intimidate visitors. The Vrelnath council members sat in elevated seats looking down at the negotiation table. It was designed to make visitors feel small and weak. But Yun sat calmly reviewing her documents, unbothered by the theatrics. Council leader Vex opened the meeting. Mediator Yun, the Vrelnath Dominion welcomes you. We hope these talks will resolve the unfortunate misunderstandings between our peoples. Misunderstandings? Yun looked up, her expression neutral. You murdered 12 of our diplomats. That's not a misunderstanding. That's an act of war. The council chamber fell silent. Vex shifted uncomfortably in his seat. We believe those responsible for the attack on your diplomatic ship acted without proper authorization. Admiral Vraxton acted on orders from this council, Yun said flatly. We have the communication records. Intelligence Officer Na provided them to us before she defected to Earth last week. The council members exchanged worried glances. Na's defection had been a disaster for them, taking with her detailed knowledge of Vrelnath military operations and proof of the government's involvement in the massacre. Yun continued. Now the Vrelnath government has 2 options. Option 1, continue denying responsibility. In that case, Captain Han and the Requiem will return to Vrelnath space, and this time there will be no mercy. Your military, your stations, your infrastructure, all destroyed. Option 2, accept responsibility, offer reparations, and work toward genuine peace. You dare threaten us? One council member shouted. We have thousands of ships. Your precious Captain Han destroyed a few dozen. Yun smiled coldly. The Requiem is not unique. It's the prototype. Earth has already begun construction on 20 more ships using the same technology. In 6 months, we'll have a fleet that can make your entire military disappear. But we'd prefer not to do that. We came here originally for peace. We're offering it again. This is your last chance to accept. The threat hung in the air. The council members knew she wasn't bluffing. Earth had proven they could build ships the Vrelnath couldn't counter. The Dominion's military advantage had vanished overnight. Council leader Vex swallowed his pride. What are your terms? Yun laid out the requirements. Full disclosure of what happened to the Horizon's Promise crew, financial compensation for the families of those killed, a formal apology from the Vrelnath government, broadcast across all networks, a memorial on Vrelnath Prime honoring the murdered diplomats, and, most importantly, any human ships in Vrelnath space would receive military protection from human escorts. The terms were harsh but not impossible. The Vrelnath agreed to everything, but while the official government negotiated peace, a different group was planning war. In a secret facility far from the capital, former Admiral Vraxton met with military hardliners who refused to accept defeat. They called themselves the True Vrelnath, believing their government had become weak and cowardly. The humans humiliated us, Vraxton told his followers. The council wants to bow down and beg for mercy. I say we strike back. We attack Earth itself and show them what happens when they make an enemy of the Vrelnath. His second-in-command, Commander Thax, had joined him after being discharged from the military for questioning the peace negotiations. We have access to 12 ships equipped with experimental stealth technology. Not as good as the human systems, but enough to get us close to Earth. What's the target? Someone asked. Their orbital habitats, Vraxton said, pulling up images of the massive space stations circling Earth. 2 million civilians. We destroy those habitats and the humans will know our pain. It was madness driven by wounded pride and hatred, but Vraxton had enough followers and enough resources to make it happen. Within weeks, his fleet was ready. They would strike at the heart of humanity and prove that the Vrelnath were still a force to be feared. Back on Earth, Captain Han received a promotion to Admiral. The ceremony was small and private, attended only by senior military officials. Han didn't want publicity. He didn't feel like a hero. He had done what was necessary, but it brought him no joy. After the ceremony, Han visited the memorial for the Horizon's Promise crew. It was a simple structure made of crystal and metal, located in a park overlooking the ocean. 12 names were carved into the crystal, including Ambassador G's. Han placed his hand on his sister's name, remembering her smile, her optimism, her belief that peace was always possible. We got them to negotiate, he said quietly. You'd be proud. We didn't win through more violence. We won by showing we could be violent but choosing not to be. At least that's what I tell myself. Lieutenant Young found him there an hour later. She had been promoted to commander and given her own ship, but she still served under Han's command. Sir, we have a problem. Intelligence Officer Na sent an urgent message from Vrelnath space. Vraxton is planning a strike on Earth. Han's blood went cold. When? Unknown. But she says he has 12 ships with stealth capability. Target is the orbital habitats. Han stood quickly. Get the Requiem crew together. All of them. We need to be ready. The ship is still being repaired from the Corinthian battle, sir. We're not at full combat readiness. Then we repair what we can and launch anyway, Han said firmly. I didn't fight this hard to let Vraxton murder civilians. Not on my watch. Over the next 3 months, as official peace negotiations continued between Earth and the Vrelnath government, Han and his crew prepared for war. The Requiem was patched together, its damaged systems fixed enough to function. Other new human warships joined the patrol, practicing formations and tactics. Earth's defense grid was upgraded. Sensors were tuned to detect the type of stealth technology the Vrelnath used. Warning systems were tested and retested. But everyone knew that if Vraxton's fleet reached the habitats, millions could die before they could be stopped. Han barely slept. He spent his days reviewing defensive strategies and his nights staring at star maps, trying to guess where Vraxton would attack from. The waiting was worse than combat. At least in battle, he could do something. Now all he could do was watch and wait. Lieutenant Young tried to get him to rest. Admiral, you're running yourself into the ground. You need sleep. I'll sleep when those habitats are safe, Han replied, his eyes never leaving the tactical display. Young sat down beside him. You can't protect everyone, sir. No matter how hard you try. I have to try, Han said quietly. My sister believed in peace. She believed people could work together. I failed to protect her. I won't fail again. You didn't fail her, Admiral. She made her choice to be a diplomat. She knew the risks. And because of what you did after her death, humanity is safer now. The Vrelnath know they can't push us around anymore. Other species see that we're not weak. You did that. You succeeded, Han wanted to believe her. But deep down, he knew the fight wasn't over. Somewhere out there, Vraxton was coming, and when he arrived, the final battle would begin. The Corinthian expanse stretched across space like a frozen storm. Thousands of asteroids, some as small as houses and others as large as cities, drifted in complex patterns. Ice and metal gleamed in the distant starlight. It was beautiful and deadly, the perfect place for an ambush. Admiral Vraxton stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominion's Fist, watching the asteroid field on the main display. Around him, 39 other Vrelnath warships held position, hidden among the rocks. Sensors swept the surrounding space constantly. Weapons were armed and ready. Every crew member was at battle stations. The human ship will come, Vraxton said confidently. They've been bold so far, thinking we can't catch them. But now we have them outnumbered and outgunned. This ghost ship dies today. His second-in-command, Commander Thax, looked less certain. Admiral, perhaps we should reconsider. The humans have destroyed every target they've engaged so far. Maybe we're underestimating them. 40 ships against one? Braxton laughed. Even if their stealth technology is good, once we get a weapons lock, it's over. No, Commander. Today the Vrelnath Dominion reminds the galaxy why we're feared. 3 days passed. The fleet waited tense and ready. Some officers began to wonder if the human ship would even show up. Perhaps they had scared it away after all. Then, on the morning of the 4th day, every sensor screen in the fleet lit up simultaneously. A contact appeared at the edge of the asteroid field. It wasn't trying to hide. It wasn't using stealth. The Requiem had arrived, broadcasting its position openly for all to see. Target acquired, the sensor officer shouted. It's them, Admiral. The human ship. Braxton smiled grimly. Finally. All ships prepare to attack on my command. Surround that vessel. Don't let it escape. But before Braxton could give the order to fire, every communication system in the fleet activated. A voice came through, calm and cold. Captain Han's voice. Attention, Vrelnath forces. This is Captain Han of Earth Defense Ship Requiem. You killed my sister. You killed my people. You invited them to peace talks and murdered them in cold blood. Then you felt nothing. You celebrated. You thought human lives were worthless. The bridge of the Dominion's fist fell silent. Every officer stared at the communication console. Han continued. Now you're going to learn what it means to be hunted. To be afraid. To understand that every action has consequences. I'm giving you one chance. Leave this system now and I'll let you go. Stay and you'll wish you hadn't. Braxton's face turned dark with rage. He grabbed the communication controls. You dare threaten us? You're one ship. We are 40. You're already dead, human. Then come and kill me, Han replied. The channel cut off. All ships, attack! Braxton screamed. Destroy that ship now! The Vrelnath fleet surged forward, weapons blazing. 40 warships unleashed a storm of fire at the Requiem. The space around the human ship exploded with energy blasts and missile trails, but the Requiem was already moving. The human warship dove into the asteroid field at impossible speed, weaving between the rocks with precision that seemed unnatural. The Vrelnath weapons missed, striking asteroids instead and sending chunks of rock spinning through space. It's too fast, the targeting officer reported. I can't get a lock. Then fire everything, Braxton ordered. Saturate the entire area. The Vrelnath fleet fired blindly into the asteroid field. Explosions lit up the darkness. Rocks shattered into millions of pieces, but the Requiem danced through the chaos like it was part of the storm itself. Then the human ship struck back. The Requiem appeared from behind a massive asteroid, its plasma lances already firing. The beams of superheated energy hit a Vrelnath cruiser directly in the engine section. The ship's reactor went critical and exploded, taking 2 nearby frigates with it in the blast. 3 ships down in seconds. Where did it go? An officer shouted. I lost the target. The Requiem had vanished again, hidden by the asteroids and its stealth systems. The Vrelnath fleet tried to regroup, but they were scattered and confused. Then the human ship appeared on the other side of the formation, firing again. 2 more Vrelnath vessels took critical hits, their engines dead, hulls breaching. Captain Han stood on the bridge of the Requiem, his hands steady on the command console. Around him his crew worked with perfect coordination. Lieutenant Young called out target positions. Weapons Officer Hay fired the plasma lances with surgical precision. Engineer Day rerouted power to shields whenever enemy fire got close. Target their engines and reactors, Han ordered. I want them crippled, not destroyed. Make them hurt, but let them live. The battle became a nightmare for the Vrelnath. The Requiem moved through the asteroid field like a predator, striking from unexpected angles, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted. The Vrelnath ships fired at shadows, hitting their own vessels as often as empty space. This is impossible, Commander Thack shouted on the Dominion's fist. One ship can't do this. But it was happening. 5 Vrelnath ships disabled, then 8, then 12. The Requiem used the asteroids as cover and weapons, maneuvering the Vrelnath into positions where their own crossfire did more damage than the human ship's weapons. Panic spread through the fleet. Captains started issuing contradictory orders. Some tried to retreat, others charged forward recklessly. The formation collapsed into chaos. All ships fall back, Braxton finally ordered, his pride breaking under the reality of the situation. Regroup it. The Requiem appeared directly in front of the Dominion's fist. The human ship decloaked completely, hovering there like a dark angel of death. For the first time, the Vrelnath could see it clearly. The Requiem was sleek and deadly, its black hull marked with battle scars, its weapon arrays glowing with barely restrained power. Han opened a video channel. His face appeared on every screen in the Vrelnath fleet. Vraxton stared at the human captain, seeing the cold determination in his eyes. "This is your lesson," Han said. "You have 23 disabled ships. Hundreds of your people are injured or dying. I could have killed all of you. Every single ship in this fleet could be debris right now. But I didn't. Do you know why?" Vraxton said nothing. He couldn't speak. Fear had stolen his voice. "Because unlike you, we don't murder people just because we can," Han continued. "We came to your space in peace. We offered friendship, trade, partnership. You answered with violence. You killed our diplomats. You celebrated their deaths. So I hunted you. I destroyed your military assets. I made you afraid. But I never killed anyone who wasn't a combatant. I never targeted civilians. I never became what you are." Han leaned forward, his face filling the screen. "This fleet will return home. You'll tell your leaders what happened here. You'll tell them that humanity tried peace and you chose war. And you'll tell them this. If one more human dies in Vrelnath territory, the next time I won't disable your ships. I won't leave survivors. I won't leave wreckage." He paused, letting the words sink in. "I'll leave only ashes." The communication channel cut off. The Requiem turned and accelerated away from the fleet, its stealth systems engaging. In seconds, the human ship vanished from sensors, disappearing into the vastness of space like a ghost returning to the shadows. On the bridge of the Dominion's fist, Admiral Vraxton collapsed into his command chair. Around him, his officers stared at their screens in shocked silence. 23 ships disabled. Their mighty fleet humiliated by a single human vessel. And worst of all, they had been spared. The human could have killed them all but chose mercy instead. It was the greatest defeat in Vrelnath military history, and everyone in the galaxy would soon know about it. Commander Thax finally broke the silence. "Admiral, what do we do now?" Vraxton stared at the empty space where the Requiem had been. His voice came out as barely a whisper. "We go home, and we pray the humans accept peace. Because if they don't, we're all dead." The emergency meeting of the Vrelnath Military Council took place in the highest security room on their homeworld. 15 senior officers sat around a long metal table. Holographic displays showed the locations of every disappeared ship, every destroyed depot, every dead soldier. The numbers were staggering. Admiral Vraxton stood at the head of the table, his face dark with anger. 23 confirmed attacks, 743 military personnel missing or dead, and we still have no idea what's attacking us. "The survivor from Threx Prime Depot mentioned a dark ship," one commander said carefully. "Should we investigate that?" "A dark ship?" Vraxton slammed his hand on the table. "That's not intelligence. That's the ramblings of a traumatized fool. Ships don't turn invisible. This is probably some rebel faction using outdated stealth technology." At the far end of the table, Intelligence Officer Na sat quietly, reviewing her data. Na was different from the other Vrelnath officers. She had spent 5 years working with humans in a joint scientific program before the Horizons Promise incident. She knew how humans thought, how they operated, and she knew exactly who was hunting Vrelnath ships. Admiral Na said, her voice calm, "I believe I know who's responsible for these attacks." Every officer turned to look at her. Vraxton's eyes narrowed. "Explain." Na activated her personal display. An image appeared showing the attack patterns, the timing, the precision of each strike. "Look at the evidence. Every target has been military. No civilian casualties. No collateral damage to nearby settlements. The attacks are surgical, precise, and completely professional. Only one military force in this region operates with that level of discipline." "You think it's the humans?" Braxton laughed. "Impossible. We destroyed their diplomatic ship. They ran away with their tails between their legs." "Humans are weak, are they?" Na pulled up footage from one of the depot attacks. The recording showed the plasma lance strikes, their incredible power and accuracy. "These weapons are more advanced than anything we've seen. The stealth technology is beyond our capability to detect. And most importantly, look at the timing. The attacks began exactly 3 months after the Horizons Promise was destroyed." The room fell silent. Officers exchanged worried glances. Na continued, her voice steady. Humans have a saying, revenge is a dish best served cold. They don't react with immediate anger. They plan, they prepare, and then they strike with overwhelming force. I believe a human warship, probably their newest military design, has been operating in our territory for months. They've been hunting us systematically, teaching us a lesson. Over one ship? Braxton shouted. One crew of weak diplomats? This is insane. You ordered the attack on the Horizon's Promise, Na said quietly. Did you think there would be no consequences? The room erupted in chaos. Officers argued, some agreeing with Na, others calling her a traitor. Braxton stood in fury, his face turning dark red. Enough! Even if it is the humans, so what? We'll crush them like we crushed their pathetic diplomatic mission. One warship against the entire Vrelnath military? They're already dead. I don't think you understand, Na said. This isn't about military strength. This is about sending a message. The humans are showing us that they can strike anywhere, anytime, and we can't stop them. They're making us look weak in front of the entire region. Other civilizations are watching. They see that the mighty Vrelnath Dominion can't even protect its own military bases. Braxton's pride wouldn't allow him to admit she was right. Instead, he made a decision that would seal his fate. Assemble a hunting fleet, 40 of our best warships. We'll track down this ghost ship and destroy it. Then we'll send what's left back to Earth as a warning. Humans need to learn their place in this galaxy. Na shook her head slowly. This is a mistake, Admiral. You should offer peace. Admit responsibility for the Horizon's Promise. Make reparations. The humans will accept that. They're not monsters. I don't negotiate with inferiors, Braxton snapped. This meeting is over. You're all dismissed. Prepare the fleet. The officers filed out of the room. Na remained seated, staring at the data on her screen. She thought about the humans she had worked with years ago. They had been kind, intelligent, and surprisingly patient. But she remembered something else about them, too. When pushed too far, when their loved ones were threatened, humans became something terrifying. They fought with a desperation and creativity that no other species could match. After the meeting, Na returned to her private office. She locked the door and activated her secure communication terminal. It took several minutes to establish the connection, bouncing the signal through a dozen relay stations to hide its origin. Finally, a voice answered. This is Captain Han. Captain, this is Na. I'm transmitting information about a Vrelnath fleet being assembled to hunt you. 40 warships. They're gathering at the Corinthian expanse. There was a pause. Thank you for the warning, Na. Why are you helping us? Because what happened to the Horizon's Promise was wrong, Na said. I tried to stop it. I tried to convince my superiors that attacking your diplomats would have consequences. They didn't listen. Now hundreds of my people are dead, and more will die because of Braxton's pride. You could be executed for treason if they discover you're helping me. I know, but some things are more important than following orders. Your sister was a good person, Captain. She didn't deserve what happened to her. Han's voice was quiet when he replied. No, she didn't. None of them did. What will you do about the fleet? Meet them, Han said simply. If they want to find the Requiem, I'll give them what they want. 40 against 1, Captain. Even with your ship's advantages, those odds are impossible. The Vrelnath thought 12 unarmed diplomats weren't worth protecting. Now they'll learn what happens when humans decide to stop being diplomatic. Thank you for the information, Na. Stay safe. The communication ended. Na sat in the darkness of her office, wondering if she had just sent a brave man to his death, or if she had given him the chance to finish what he started. Aboard the Requiem, Captain Han gathered his senior officers in the briefing room. Lieutenant Young, Weapons Officer Hay, Tactical Officer Sung, and Chief Engineer Day all stood around the holographic display showing the Corinthian expanse. They're setting a trap, Lieutenant Young said. The asteroid field gives them cover and forces us into close combat. 40 ships, Captain. We can't fight that many. We're not trying to win a conventional battle, Han replied. We're sending a final message. The Vrelnath think they can hunt us. We're going to show them they're still the prey. Weapons Officer Hayes studied the tactical display. I can modify the plasma lances for rapid-fire mode. It'll drain our power reserves faster, but we'll have more shots available. Do it, Han ordered. Sung, work out attack patterns. I want us moving through that asteroid field like a ghost. Never in the same place twice. Make them afraid of their own shadows. Yes, Captain. Chief Engineer Day raised a concern. Captain, if we take damage, we won't have support. No rescue ships, no backup. If the Requiem is destroyed, we all die out there. Han looked at each of his officers. I know. That's why I'm giving everyone a choice. We can avoid this fight. Jump back to Earth space and let the military handle it. Or we can face this fleet and finish what we started. I won't order anyone to certain death. This has to be your decision. The officers looked at each other. Then Lieutenant Young spoke for all of them. My husband was a navigator on the Horizon's Promise. He believed in peace. He believed in making connections with other species. The Vrelnath killed him for that belief. I'm not running, Captain. I'm finishing this. My brother too, Hay said. I'm in. One by one, the officers voiced their agreement. Sung, Day, every member of the senior staff. They weren't fighting for revenge anymore. They were fighting for something bigger. For the principle that human lives mattered. That diplomats who came in peace deserved to be protected. That murder couldn't be ignored. Then we go to the Corinthian expanse, Han said. Set course. Maximum stealth. And someone send a message to the Vrelnath fleet. Tell them we're coming. 3 months passed since the destruction of the Horizon's Promise. In Vrelnath space, life continued as normal. The military celebrated their easy victory over the weak humans. Officers received promotions. Commanders boasted about the successful operation. No one spoke about the murdered diplomats. No one cared. Then the disappearances began. The first ship to vanish was the patrol frigate Sword of Victory. It had been making routine rounds near the Kelros Nebula, a dense cloud of gas and dust at the edge of Vrelnath territory. The ship sent its regular status report at 0800 hours. At 0830 it was scheduled to report again. The report never came. Vrelnath Command tried to contact the frigate Silence. They sent another ship to investigate. When the search team arrived at the Sword of Victory's last known position, they found nothing. No wreckage, no debris, no distress beacon. The ship had simply ceased to exist. Equipment failure, High Admiral Vraxton declared when he received the report. The ship probably had a reactor malfunction. These things happen, but they kept happening. 2 weeks later, a supply convoy of 4 ships disappeared while traveling between military stations. One moment they were there, transmitting their position. The next moment, all 4 ships went silent simultaneously. Search teams found empty space where the convoy should have been. Then a destroyer vanished. Then another patrol group. Then a cargo hauler carrying weapons. Each time the pattern was identical. Normal operations, sudden silence, complete disappearance. No survivors, no clues, no explanations. After the 15th ship disappeared, even Admiral Vraxton couldn't ignore the problem anymore. He called an emergency meeting of his top officers. They gathered in the war room, staring at the star map where red markers showed each disappearance. This is unacceptable, Vraxton said, his voice hard. 15 military vessels don't just vanish. Someone is attacking us, but who? Asked one of the commanders. We've detected no enemy ships. No weapon signatures, nothing. Pirates? Another officer suggested. Pirates don't make ships disappear without a trace, Vraxton replied. Pirates leave wreckage. They take prisoners for ransom. This is something else. At a remote listening post on the border of Vrelnath space, sensor operator Kelvin sat at his station monitoring the detection grid. His job was boring most days. Watch the screens. Record the data. Report anything unusual. For 3 years, nothing unusual had ever happened. Until tonight. Kelvin was drinking his evening tea when the gravitational sensors pinged. He looked at the display and frowned. The readings showed something massive moving through space nearby. But the visual scanner showed nothing. No ship, no asteroid, nothing visible at all. He checked the instruments. They seemed to be working correctly. The gravitational anomaly remained on screen for 15 seconds. Then it vanished as if it had never existed. Kelvin filed a report with his supervisor. The response came quickly. Recalibrate your equipment. False readings are unacceptable. But Kelvin knew his equipment worked fine. He had detected something. Something that didn't want to be seen. Far away, in a region of space that appeared completely empty, the Requiem glided through the darkness. The human warship was invisible to every known sensor system. Its hull was covered with adaptive plating that bent light and radiation around it, like water flowing around a stone. To anyone watching, there was nothing there. Just empty space. On the bridge, Captain Han stood with his arms crossed, studying the tactical display. Lieutenant Young, his executive officer, stood beside him. Around them, the crew worked in quiet efficiency. Target located, reported the sensor officer. Vrelnath Supply Depot, 12,000 kilometers ahead. 3 defensive platforms. Minimal patrols. How many Vrelnath personnel? Han asked. Approximately 200, Captain. Military only? Confirmed. No civilian presence. Han nodded slowly. The Requiem had been hunting in Vrelnath space for 3 months now, striking only military targets. 19 ships destroyed so far. Hundreds of Vrelnath soldiers dead. But no civilians. No innocents. Han made sure of that. He wasn't like the Vrelnath. He wouldn't murder people who had done nothing wrong. Bring us within weapons range, Han ordered. All crew to battle stations. Prepare plasma lances. The Requiem moved closer to the depot, still completely invisible. The Vrelnath defenders had no idea death was approaching. They went about their duties, loading supplies, checking equipment, talking about their assignments. Some complained about the boring work. Others joked about the mysterious ship disappearances, making up silly stories about ghost ships and space monsters. They didn't realize the ghost ship was real, and it was right outside their station. In position, Captain, Lieutenant Young reported. Han looked at the faces of his crew. Each of them had volunteered for this mission. Each had lost someone on the Horizon's Promise. The weapons officer's brother, the engineer's wife, the medical officer's best friend. They were here for revenge, but also for justice. To make sure the Vrelnath understood that human lives mattered. Fire, Han said quietly. The Requiem's plasma lances activated. Beams of superheated energy, hotter than the core of a star, struck the depot's shields. The Vrelnath defensive systems tried to activate, but they were too slow. The plasma cut through the shields like they were made of paper. Alarms screamed throughout the depot. Vrelnath soldiers ran to their stations trying to understand what was attacking them. But their sensors showed nothing. No enemy ship, no incoming fire from any visible source. Just destruction appearing from nowhere. The defensive platforms fired blindly into space, their weapons lighting up the darkness. Every shot missed. The Requiem was already moving, circling the depot like a shark, firing from different angles. The plasma lances systematically destroyed the depot's power systems, weapons arrays, and life support. In 4 minutes, it was over. The depot became a twisted wreck of metal, venting atmosphere into space. Emergency pods launched automatically, carrying surviving Vrelnath into the void. The Requiem didn't pursue them. Han wanted survivors this time. He wanted witnesses. As the human warship prepared to leave, Han activated the depot's emergency communication system remotely. He broadcast a message on all Vrelnath military channels. The message was simple, just 3 words in the Vrelnath language. Remember the promise. Then the Requiem vanished into the darkness, leaving only wreckage and terrified survivors behind. One of those survivors was Communications Officer Dren. His escape pod was recovered by a Vrelnath rescue ship 6 hours later. When they opened the pod, they found him sitting in the corner staring at nothing, his eyes wide with shock. What happened? The rescue captain asked. What attacked the depot? Dren's mouth moved, but no sound came out at first. He tried again, forcing the words through his terror. The dark ship, he whispered. It came from nowhere. We couldn't see it. Couldn't fight it. It just destroyed everything. What dark ship? What are you talking about? But Dren couldn't explain. He could only repeat those 3 words over and over. The dark ship. The dark ship. The dark ship. Back in Vrelnath Command, Admiral Vraxton received the report about the depot attack. 23 military targets destroyed now. Hundreds dead. 1 survivor, driven mad by fear, babbling about invisible ships. For the first time, Braxton felt something he had never experienced before in his long military career. He felt afraid. The stars stretched endlessly across the viewing screen of the Horizon's Promise. Commander Tay stood on the bridge watching the distant lights with quiet satisfaction. After 3 months of travel, they were finally approaching Vrelnath space. The diplomatic mission was going exactly as planned. Distance to the border checkpoint? Tay asked. 4 hours, Commander, replied the navigation officer. We should arrive right on schedule. Tay nodded and walked toward the conference room where Ambassador G was reviewing the trade documents one last time. The door slid open with a soft hiss. G looked up from her datapad and smiled. Nervous, she asked. About meeting the Vrelnath? A little, Tay admitted. They've never been friendly to humans before. That's why we're here, G said. To change that. to show them we can be partners instead of rivals. She stood and gathered her papers. Behind her, through the window, the outer reach territories glowed with distant station lights. This region of space had belonged to dozens of small civilizations once. Now the Vrelnath Dominion controlled it all. They had expanded through force, crushing anyone who resisted. Humanity had watched from afar, hoping diplomacy might work better than weapons. Captain Wu entered the room, his security uniform crisp and clean. "Ambassador, I've completed the final security check. All crew members are accounted for. We're ready for the meeting." "Excellent," G said. "Commander Tay, please send our arrival message to the Vrelnath station. Let them know we'll dock in 4 hours." Tay returned to the bridge and composed the message. It was formal and polite, exactly as the diplomats had instructed. He sent it and waited for confirmation. The reply came quickly. "Acknowledged. Proceed to docking bay 7. Everything seemed normal. 3 hours passed. The Horizon's Promise crossed into Vrelnath territory. The crew remained at their stations, professional and alert. In the passenger section, the 12-member delegation prepared for the historic meeting. Some reviewed notes. Others simply stared out the windows, imagining the possibilities of peace. Then the ship's sensors detected movement. "Commander, we have multiple contacts," the sensor officer announced. 6 vessels approaching fast from our port side." Tay frowned. "Identify them. They're Vrelnath military ships, Commander. Frigate class. Hail them," Tay ordered. "Ask if they're our escort." The communication officer opened a channel. No response came. The 6 ships continued their approach, weapons powered and shields active. Tay felt his stomach tighten. "Red alert," he said quietly. "Shields up. Contact Ambassador G immediately." The alarm bells rang through the Horizon's Promise. Captain Wu rushed to the bridge, his hand on his weapon. "What's happening?" "Vrelnath ships. They're not responding to hails." Tay's hands moved across his console. "Ambassador, we may need to—" The first weapon strike hit the ship before he could finish. The Horizon's Promise shook violently. Sparks flew from damaged panels. The lights flickered and dimmed. Shields at 60%. Someone shouted, "They're firing again!" The diplomatic vessel had minimal weapons designed for peaceful missions, not combat. Tay knew they couldn't fight 6 military frigates. "Evasive maneuvers. Send a distress signal on all channels." Another blast struck the ship. Then another. The Horizon's Promise tried to turn away, but the Vrelnath ships surrounded it like predators circling wounded prey. Their weapons tore through the shields in minutes. Captain Wu ran to the armory, gathering weapons for the crew. Security Officer Quan followed him. "We need to protect the ambassador." "Get everyone to the escape pods," Wu ordered, but the Vrelnath had already thought of that. Their targeting computers locked onto the escape pod bays and destroyed them with precise shots. One by one, the pods exploded before anyone could launch. On the bridge, Commander Tay sent the final distress message. His fingers shook as he typed. "This is the Horizon's Promise. We are under attack by Vrelnath military forces. Our position is—" The transmission cut off as another explosion ripped through the ship's communication array. Tay grabbed the console to steady himself. Around him, crew members worked desperately to keep the ship functional. Ambassador G arrived on the bridge, her face pale but determined. "Can we surrender?" "I've tried," Tay said. "They're not responding to anything. They're just destroying us." The ship shuddered again. The main power failed. Emergency lights cast everything in red shadows. Through the windows, the Vrelnath ships moved closer, their weapons still firing. Captain Wu and Officer Quan fought their way to the bridge through smoke-filled corridors. They carried weapons ready to defend the ship if the Vrelnath tried to board. But no boarding came. The Vrelnath didn't want prisoners. They wanted death. "Hull breach on decks 3 and 4. The damage control officer reported. "Life support failing in multiple sections." Tay looked at Ambassador G. They both understood. There would be no negotiation. No trade agreement, no peace. The Vrelnath had invited them here to die. "Why?" G whispered. "We came in peace," and she never finished the sentence. The final blast struck the Horizon's Promise directly in the reactor core. The explosion tore the ship apart from the inside. Metal twisted and shattered. The crew had no time to scream. In seconds, the diplomatic vessel became a cloud of debris, spreading slowly through the darkness of space. The 6 Vrelnath frigates remained for a moment, scanning the wreckage. They found no survivors. Satisfied, they turned and accelerated away, disappearing into the depths of their territory. Behind them, pieces of the horizon's promise drifted in silence. A few emergency beacons blinked weakly among the ruins, their signals growing fainter with each passing hour. 2 weeks later, a Vrelnath patrol discovered the wreckage during a routine sweep. They recovered some of the debris for analysis, including personal effects from the crew. Security Officer Kwan's emergency beacon was still transmitting. They pulled it from the wreckage and found his uniform, torn and stained with blood. The patrol captain filed a brief report and sent it to Vrelnath Command. The official statement came 3 days after that. The Vrelnath government expressed regret over the unfortunate incident caused by unknown pirates in the region. They offered no investigation, no compensation, no justice. The message was clear. Human lives meant nothing in Vrelnath space. On Earth, in the Central Command Station orbiting the planet, Captain Han sat in a quiet office reading the report. His hands trembled as he scrolled through the details. 12 dead. His sister G, the ambassador, gone. The diplomatic mission, humanity's attempt at peace, answered with murder. He read the report 3 times, memorizing every detail. The Vrelnath attack, the destroyed escape pods, the blood-stained uniform. Then he stood and walked to the window, staring out at the orbital shipyards below. In one of those yards, a new ship was being built, the most advanced warship humanity had ever designed. Captain Han placed his hand against the cold glass. His reflection stared back at him, and in his eyes burned something the Vrelnath would soon learn to fear. They had made their choice. Now he would make his.